Unfortunately, the success of hip hop is predicated upon being anti-Black. The messages in hip hop that get the exposure are misogyny, murder, and disrespect of fellow Black people.
Malcolm Jamal Warner wasn't just a familiar face from back in the day. He was one of those rare actors who kept evolving. But now that he's gone, the message he left behind has people asking, why does this always happen? Why is it that every time someone begins to speak up, really speak their truth, they're suddenly taken from us? Was it a goodbye, or did he know something we didn't? Let's get into it. Most people remember Malcolm Jamal Warner as Theo from The Cosby Show, but his career went far beyond that. He remained active in the industry for decades, earning respect both on and off screen.
How does it feel, this sudden stardom?
It's great. I mean, it was nothing I was expecting. You know, you think for a long time about how you win a series, and you never really expect it to be a big success.
Recently, Warner was vacationing with family near Playa Grande/Cocos in Costa Rica, a beach known for strong rip currents and no lifeguards that day. Around 2:10 p.m. on July 20th, he and a friend entered the water while his daughter stayed on shore. A rip current quickly pulled them in. His friend escaped, but Warner was dragged under. A nearby doctor and others tried to revive him with CPR and a defibrillator for 45 minutes, but it was too late. He had no vital signs. Authorities confirmed he drowned, and his body was taken to a forensic morgue. But the real story doesn't end with his death. It's what Malcolm Jamal Warner left behind that has people talking.
Great brother. I saw a clip last night that Malcolm Jamal Warner said he didn't want to be known as Malcolm Jamal Warner, the actor. He wanted to be known as Malcolm Jamal Warner, the man. Mm-hmm. And I agree, because I do not like seeing people say R.I.P. Theo. Like, Malcolm Jamal Warner was a real person, a real man, a real human with a real family. Yeah. Theo's a character.
Yeah,
absolutely. But some people just know him as, you know, as Theo. Will never forget, you know, that role that he played.
I think in life,
in our houses, basically.
You set out to inspire through, you know, he was doing a lot of work through his podcast.
Mm-hmm. The message he shared before he passed, all of it has made fans stop and think. Just 2 days before he died, Malcolm Jamal Warner dropped what would end up being the final episode of his podcast, Not All Hood. And now, people are looking back at it like it was a hidden goodbye, not because he said this is the end, but because of the weight of what he was talking about. It hit different. He talked about a moment he had with spoken word artist Tamika Georgia Mee Harper. When he mentioned the title of his podcast, Not All Hood, she didn't even let him finish. She cut in like, ain't nothing wrong with the hood. That one comment stuck with him, and you could hear it in his voice.
We're talking about the podcast, and I was, podcast is called, Not All Hood, and I couldn't even finish my sentence. And just like, ain't nothing wrong with the hood. Ain't nothing wrong with the hood. And it made me realize that there could be a misconception that we're saying not all hood, saying that the hood is bad, but the concept is like what the media shows us is one side of Black culture, and it's the hood side, and the hood side, ultimately historically is what has always created American culture.
He wasn't talking down on the hood. He was actually standing up for it. What he was calling out was the system. The way media only ever shows one version of Black culture, like that's all there is. But he said it plain. That wasn't just a deep thought, and that was a truth. But that wasn't all. Warner also opened up about how his view of Black excellence had changed over time. He said he used to feel a way about that phrase, like it was only about celebrities, status, money, all the stuff that looks good on paper. It never really sat right with him.
There should be a moratorium on both of those words in hip-hop because it's low-lying fruit, it's so easy, everybody fucking does it, to the point that it's corny. Like there are MCs who I love, who I cannot listen to anymore because I love J. Cole, but I had to stop listening to J. Cole because I got tired of hearing nigga and bitch
as much
every 2 sentences, because he's proven himself to be such a incredible lyricist
that you think it's just too low-hanging fruit for him to use those words.
I feel like
One thing that always followed Malcolm Jamal Warner, whether he liked it or not, was his connection to The Cosby Show. For years, that show was considered one of the most important pieces of Black television in history. It changed how Black families were portrayed on screen. It gave people hope, and Warner, as Theo Huxtable, was right in the center of it. But then the Bill Cosby scandal hit, and everything changed. When the allegations against Cosby started surfacing, dozens of women coming forward with horrifying stories, people didn't just look at Cosby differently. They looked at everyone who had ever worked with him.
37 women have stood up publicly, pointing their finger and said that Bill Cosby has either raped or sexually assaulted them. Many of the stories follow the exact same script. They allege Mr. Cosby gave them a drink, it incapacitated them, and then he had his way with them. Cosby, through his lawyers, denies all of the allegations, saying that any and all sex he had with these women was consensual.
Suddenly, the legacy of the show wasn't just about representation or family values. It was clouded by trauma, betrayal, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. Malcolm Jamal Warner stayed mostly quiet at first, like a lot of the cast, but eventually, he spoke up, carefully. He made it clear that he didn't condone what Cosby was accused of, but he also said he was heartbroken by how the scandal erased all the good the show once did. In interviews, he expressed frustration, not just about Cosby's actions, but about how the media threw everything else away along with him. After The Cosby Show, Malcolm Jamal Warner could have faded into the background like a lot of child stars, but he didn't. He stayed working, and not just for the spotlight, but with purpose. While Warner mostly kept his name out of the tabloids, there were moments where he ended up in the headlines. Not because of scandal, but because of how he handled difficult or controversial situations. One of those moments came from his longtime relationship with actress Regina King. The two dated for years, and for many fans, they were that couple. Successful, grounded, and deeply respected in the industry. So when they broke up in 2013, it caught people off guard. Neither of them shared much publicly, but Regina later hinted in interviews that the split wasn't as peaceful as it looked. She mentioned being deeply hurt, and although she never called him out by name, the timing made it clear who she was referring to.
According to Us Weekly, Warner called things off totally and completely out of the blue, and the move left her stunned. Right then and there, he allegedly asked King and her son to promptly move out of their shared home, too. A supposed insider told the magazine, "She thought this would really last for good. They were so close as a family. They knew each other forever, and then out of nowhere, he dumped her."
Malcolm Jamal Warner was part of an industry that's known for chewing people up and spitting them out. And let's be real, there are a lot of names we don't hear anymore, not because they lost talent, but because they started speaking out, speaking the truth, challenging the system. And then suddenly, they disappeared. Projects canceled, careers stalled, voices buried. He wasn't loud about it, but if you really listened, especially in his final podcast, Warner was starting to say the things others were too afraid to. About the media, about Black identity, about how this industry picks and chooses which stories get told. He wasn't just playing the game anymore, he was questioning it. And now, with the way he died, people can't help but wonder. Yeah, it was called a tragic accident. But when someone that outspoken, that intentional, dies just days after sharing something that deep, it doesn't sit right. No one's saying he planned it. But some are feeling like maybe, just maybe, he knew what kind of weight his words carried. Maybe he felt what was coming. Or maybe the universe was just too loud at that moment for us to ignore. Either way, his message is still here, and it's not going away. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this was just a tragic accident, or was there more going on beneath the surface?